Welcome to the American Institute of Healthcare Professionals video on the 12 Steps of AA, or Alcoholic Anonymous. And in this video, we're going to look at the forming of AA and also just a quick review of the 12 steps themselves. The 12 Steps of AA were created by Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith in the 1930s, and they articulated these 12 steps for AA members in their 12-step book. Now, as time went through, there was also a book that was developed for addicts themselves with drug abuse. So different groups can meet for AA, for alcoholics, and also a group for various addicts. In Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith's unique situation, they were both alcoholics, and they came across each other and they developed a way of peer support where they were able to hold each other accountable and to be able to curb the addiction that they faced that was destroying their own families, and then to share that. And a lot of it came with a very deep spirituality. So in many cases, it has a very strong Christian base, a very strong Christian foundation. But that doesn't mean that it's for Christians only. It adheres to a higher power, or for those who are more agnostic or atheistic, a higher self, which can be one's own being or a universal type of law. So with over 15.1 million individuals suffering from the disease of alcoholism, the 12 steps incorporate this spirituality, and this accountability, which emphasizes the helplessness of one who faces the disease of addiction and helps them find support with each other in helping one on this continued and endless process of maintaining sobriety itself. Now, the peer support groups meetings are key to the format. While some individuals may not find this format beneficial, it has been proven through research that long-term sobriety is best held together when there is this type of peer support where individuals share the same type of addiction and are able to support each other, but also share ideas on how to stay sober or to share their failures and to support each other in fixing these things. Each step within the 12-step program is a foundational block in helping build the individual against the disease of addiction. It gives the individual a value or a tool to help develop and control the particular disease of addiction. The steps encourage growth through community, shared experiences, encouragement, and constant healing and perseverance with each other. Again, it's a lifelong endeavor, and I think through Wilson and Smith, the idea of alcoholism as a disease, which is something that isn't completely in the person's control, although we still have free will, but the idea of a disease that needs constant treatment was a key element which helped society understand alcoholism more and a better way to help. So to conclude this video, I want to just go through the 12 steps. If you are an alcoholic or an addict and you're facing these issues, you will find this in their famous manual, the famous 12-step book. But let's take a quick look, it's a preview of the things that an individual needs to go through. Now, again, remember, this doesn't entail that you have to believe in a higher power, but it does entail finding some sort of higher moral framework than yourself. You need to be able to anchor yourself in this regard. So the first step is honesty and admitting that one is powerless over alcohol, that one is powerless over this disease that has enveloped them. Now, bear in mind, some people can drink their whole life and never become an addict. Maybe they just have a drinking issue. And that drinking issue has led to some bad choices, maybe a DUI, and they binge drink and they can walk away from it and never feel addicted again. Maybe it's this social peer pressure. That's a minor form of a problem. But the greater problem is the actual addiction or the craving. Now, these 12 steps are for both. If you feel you have a drinking problem, but you might not be addicted per se, these steps still are important because the problem is tearing you away. So being honest that you are powerless over alcohol to whatever extent you might be is the first step. The second step is hope and belief in a higher power than oneself, or as I said, a moral framework to restore sanity. You have to have hope. If you're in despair, one is going to continue to fall into the repeat offenses of drinking, and the same problems are going to occur over and over with numerous relapses. Now, it's not to say that the 12-step program doesn't understand the reality of potential relapses, especially during certain events or certain seasons. But again, it looks for a hope that you can overcome this. Faith is the third point, and it's a conscious decision to turn oneself over to that higher power or that higher moral framework that you are going to adhere to. It's a conscious decision. You have to make it yourself. You cannot have it made by others. So many individuals are resistant to going to rehab or IOP, and they resist it, they fight it, and it never really takes root. So you have to reach that third step of a conscious decision to say, I want to change my life. I cannot continue down this road of destruction. It's hurting my family, it's hurting myself, and it could hurt someone else by my actions when I'm intoxicated. The fourth step is courage. It's to make an objective and fearless moral inventory of self. And that's sometimes scary to do, to look at yourself and to make an inventory as honest as possible about your failures and also your drinking problem itself. The fifth step is integrity. It's the ability to admit to God and all, if not spiritual, to someone, one's shortcomings and wrongs. And this is sometimes done within the peer support group at an AA meeting. It's to admit that you were wrong. A willingness is the sixth step, and it's ready to allow God or others to remove all defects of character. So you've admitted what you've done wrong, and now you're willing to remove this stain from your life itself. Humility. And in humility, the seventh step is to ask God to remove one's own shortcomings, or at least someone of authority that you know. So you're asking to find the humility, to remove the pride of self, which is the root of all problems, pride, and to understand that you are human, that you make mistakes, and it's time to remove these shortcomings from you. They no longer define you. The seventh step is love, and it's to make a list of all harmed and to seek forgiveness. So throughout our inventory, we have looked at a lot of issues that we might have gone through throughout our life. And within these issues, we've hurt others. So with love, we want to make that list, and it's important to know what we've done in the past. Now, the next step is responsibility in itself. And the responsibility is to make amends to those harms. And sometimes that's one of the hardest ones to do because sometimes individuals do not want to give forgiveness. Maybe they've been hurt too much. And that's part of the forgiveness process, to be able to ask for forgiveness, but also to accept the fact that some are not ready to give it, but to still be okay with oneself, to know that you've thrown that out and that you are now looking for some way to be able to be a better person and that you have done that. Now, the next step is discipline in itself, and that's in continued personal inventory of self. So that integrity to admit one's shortcomings, the willingness to remove all defects of character, the humility to find the shortcomings of one's life, and now the discipline itself to continue on this trek. You've asked forgiveness from others, but now you're going to continue and hold oneself accountable through this type of discipline in itself. The 11th step is spiritual awareness, and it's to remain in contact with the higher power or whatever moral framework that you have designed through prayer or constant vigilance. And remember, this is the awareness that initially set one off into this direction of healing and reconciliation. It is the honesty, the hope, and the faith and the courage. So we want to continue this spiritual awareness. Finally, service, and that's the final step, the 12th step, and that's helping others with alcoholism or addiction. And that's where you become like a sponsor to another individual who's entering the 12 steps to help them through the 12 steps. And it keeps one focused. It really does. So you've worked on yourself. You know you are a continual work in progress, but when you start to give back and you start to help others become better, this becomes almost like a ministry, and it keeps oneself in many ways on track. Now, the 12 steps are not a guarantee once completed that you will not have a relapse. We're human. Everyone is human. The chance for error or a mistake can occur, but the skills that are given, the peer support within the group of AA with those 12 steps makes it a lot easier to maintain the path of sobriety, and if one falls off, to regain composure. Because how many times do we try to make change in our life? How many times do we attempt to be better and then we fail, and then we fall into despair, and we go into a depression of repeating those acts that we abhor because we feel like we're a failure because of just one mistake itself. So we have to understand that change is a process. The subconscious mind doesn't necessarily want to give in to our conscious decisions. So it takes a long time through habit and effort. And that's why the 12 steps take so long to complete. It's creating this new habit of sobriety. It's a retraining of the subconscious mind itself. And I think it's ingeniously created through these steps that give us an individual who's an alcoholic, that give them, or an addict, give them a guideline and a process to find hope, to find discipline, to find accountability, and again, to go out and help others themselves. So if you suffer from addiction, if you suffer from alcoholism, and you have finally reached a point where you're causing so much destruction to yourself, your family, and others, it's time to start looking at some of these steps and at least enter into conversation with yourself with the first step of honesty. And the first step is always the hardest step, but it is the most important step in moving forward itself. So we are the American Institute of Healthcare Professionals. We do offer a substance abuse practitioner certification. Now, this certification is utilized within the scope of one's practice. There are many substance abuse counselors that are tier 1 that aren't necessarily licensed counselors that work in IOP groups. There's also a variety of substance abuse counselors who are licensed counselors that just focus their practice on substance abuse. So this certification is good for either, and it can help individuals be more equipped to guide individuals through the phases of addiction and understanding how to help individuals overcome it. Our link below for the substance abuse practitioner certification is listed, as well as our phone at 330-652-7776. And our email is info@AIHCP.org. I'd like to thank you for listening and have a good day.